So the Texas Longhorns have had a solid offseason, whether that be in the transfer portal where they've continued to add in talent, headlined by former five-star quarterback Quinn Ewers, who's one of the highest-rated quarterbacks and football players in the modern era of recruiting rankings, but also in their 22 recruiting class, where the Texas Longhorns got a position group that I think is a bigger win than getting in Quinn Ewers. A tall statement, but one we're going to break down. But before we do, as always, you know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, Y for yes, N for no. Are you excited about the offensive line haul the Texas Longhorns got? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy the content, like and comment down below. Those interactions, they may seem small, but they are truly massive to content creators such as myself in both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. However, with all of that being said, let's break this down, and I want to revisit something I said in the intro because it was a tall statement, that I think there's a position group that Texas got in their recruiting class that's of bigger importance than Quinn Ewers. And let me break this down, because Quinn Ewers is a major win for any university, but especially the Texas Longhorns. Whenever you consider that he's a Texas kid, grew up a Texas fan, and was a one-time commit to the Texas Longhorns before decommitting and early enrolling at Ohio State, that is a huge win for Steve Sarkisian and company, especially because Steve Sarkisian is an offensive mind. Now you give him a quarterback with the ceiling Quinn Ewers has, and everybody needs to be excited. However, as much as everything I just said is true, the offensive line haul that the Texas Longhorns got, in my opinion, may just be more important. And let me explain. Because when we look at the Texas Longhorns last year, Casey Thompson was a serviceable quarterback. And in fact, if he was still there this year, I think Texas fans could feel at least comfortable with where they were. Now, ultimately, Quinn Ewers has an unreal ceiling. And if he's able to hit that ceiling, he's going to be an extremely rare talent. So always getting in that type of talent is unbelievable. And the ceiling he possesses is truly astounding. But the big problem with the Texas Longhorns last year didn't really fall on the quarterback, though there was some areas where quarterback play could have improved. I'm fairly certain we can say that across the board, about 99% of programs in college football. In fact, to me, the major problem with the Texas Longhorns last year on the offensive side of the ball is that the offensive line didn't afford them the opportunities to maximize on some of the talent they had. Whenever you have Bijan Robinson, one of the most gifted players in all of college football, notice I didn't say one of the most gifted running backs, because that's a little bit of an understatement. He's one of the most gifted players in the collegiate game, period. Offense, defense, doesn't matter. Whenever you have Bijan Robinson and you're not able to utilize him in the way you'd really like because your offensive line doesn't allow you to, that's a problem. And so I say that I think the offensive line class that Texas got may be bigger than Quinn Ewers for that reason, because it was a glaring need for the Longhorns. And let's be honest, it doesn't matter how talented your quarterback is. If the offensive line is not giving him the adequate time to be able to make his reads, make his decision, it's all for naught. Having an offensive line that affords Ewers or affords whoever's the signal caller protection is going to be paramount for the Texas Longhorns going forward. And in my opinion, this offensive line class really ties in all the talent Texas got outside of this. Because when we look at the transfer portal, they were able to add in really talented players, such as a Jaleel Billingsley out of Alabama and Isaiah Nayor out of Wyoming. But the offensive line is going to be paramount for their production as well, because they're reliant on the quarterback who's reliant on the offensive line. And so, look, if you were to come to me and say, Ty, I agree with you, the offensive line is of utmost importance, but Quinn Ewers is a bigger get, you're not going to find a big argument from me. The only points I would make is when we look at the Texas Longhorns last year, the biggest area I think that needed improvement was the offensive line. Texas went out and signed the best offensive line class in the country. And when we look at it, there's a lot to be excited about. Whether we're talking about five-star offensive tackle Kelvin Banks, 6'5", 300 pounds, pounds, rated as the number 33 overall prospect in the nation, number 3 tackle, or 5-star interior offensive lineman Devon Campbell. A really unique talent that has the ability to both play inside and outside, ranked as a top 10 player in the nation, the number 1 interior offensive lineman in the nation, and stands 6'3", 310 pounds. But that was only the beginning of Texas's success on offensive line recruiting. Neto Umazulu, another 4-star interior offensive lineman, 6'4", 285 pounds, top 100 player in the nation. Malik Ogbo, an offensive tackle, 4-star, 6'5", 320 pounds, a top 300 player in the nation. Cameron Williams, another offensive tackle, 6'5", 360 pounds, number 368 in the nation. Cole Hudson, 4-star interior offensive lineman, 6'5", 312. And finally, interior offensive lineman Connor Robertson, a 3-star. So yes, when you look at it, Texas has got a lot to be excited about from the playmaker position. However, I liken Texas's class to a Ferrari in the sense that there's so much flashiness to be excited about, but the real meat and potatoes is the power, and that's the offensive line. We all love how a Ferrari looks, but we're all enamored by how fast it goes, how powerful it is, and that's what the offensive line really allows Texas to maximize. Now, one thing we need to get clear, I'm not saying everything is going to be fixed this year. Whenever we're talking about offensive line development, that's something that can take a while because of the massive difference between how high school offenses are called and how college offenses are called. Very rarely do you have an offense that's really allowing an offensive lineman to flourish in the sense that they would in college, with pass sets, with run sets, and with really solid technique. It certainly happens. I'm not saying it doesn't. We've seen freshman offensive line come in and start and play at a very high level. It does happen. People develop faster, but I am saying that the offensive line position is one that's very hard to develop into because of the stringent differences. But I am saying that the offensive line is one that's very hard to just step into because of the massive differences between how high school is played and college is played. The technique difference is astounding. The speed difference is incredible. The strength difference is monumental. And so when you add all of that in, I expect for this group to take a bit of time to develop. But that is the key word right here, is development. And so Kyle Flood putting together probably the best offensive line class in the nation. And that's something I am very interested in. Do you think this is the best offensive line class in the nation for the class of 2022? And let me know what you're thinking, because if you can think of one better, please, by all means, let me know. And before anybody says, oh, well, they just got this talent because of NIL, college football now is allowed NIL. And so now that's going to be a part of recruiting whether we like it or not. And so we can either choose to adapt or continue not liking it. I understand that it's a massive change. I understand that it is truly a groundbreaking change. Massive might being a bit of an understatement, but at the end of the day, it is now a legitimate part of college football. And you're either going to adapt to it or you're going to fall behind those who did adapt to it. Texas is doing something right now that falls in line with NIL, and until they are challenged on it, they're going to continue doing it, and other institutions are going to follow suit until a change is made. But until that change is made, profit off of the current circumstances as you can. And so when you look at that, this offensive line class is a phenomenal haul. The one complaint I think I could hear from Texas fans, you're upset that more didn't early enroll, because this is a great group.